Now, Kleeman has actually conducted an extensive research on this area. She has visited a number of laboratories. She has conducted a direct kind of interviews. She has done a lot of discussions, conversations, etc. And she says that there are millions of people actually working behind these technological innovations. And she says some of them are actually driven by principles, some others are driven by passion, some others are driven by ambition, and for some others, it is just money. So, whatever she has done is an extensive kind of investigation and research. And this is not a science fiction, though it may sound like a science fiction. So she has divided into four different areas. So she begins with the first part, the sex robots, which is very amusing and which looks very interesting. Now, I'm sure that all of you might be very familiar with the concept of sex toys. Now, sex toys might not be something which Indians are very familiar with, but this has got a very, very huge kind of platform-oriented connection and industry basis in most of the Western European countries and even in America. So it is actually a huge market itself in the Western countries in America. So Jenny Kleeman actually goes into a real-time organization, which is named as ABYSS, ABYSS. You can Google it out so that you will get more information if you're interested. So this ABYSS is an organization with the MD, Matt Macmillan, and they are actually producing sex dolls here. And when I say sex dolls, it can be both male dolls and female dolls. So they make a very huge production. So sex toys, they're actually a common thing in the supermarkets in most of the foreign countries. But here, Jenny Kleeman says that the difference here is that these sex toys, which are going to be created in this ABYSS International organization, are not just sex robots. They are artificially intelligent sex robots, which means they can talk, they can communicate, they can walk, they can make realistic noises, and they can be a real-time companion for you. Now, this might look a little bit crazy and weird when we talk about it, but this is a reality which is happening on one side of the world. Now, this ABYSS International is situated in Southern California, so a number of experiments are being done. Now, this artificially intelligent sex robot has got some peculiar features. Now, the very first thing is that the body is actually made of medical silicone graded material. So that gives a real human kind of feeling when you touch this sex robot. Now, secondly, the entire body of the sex robot is built in with heating sensors, which means if you touch the sex robot, it gives you the real warmth of a normal human being. It can make realistic noises, it can communicate with you, it can talk with you, it can walk. So whatever a human being can do, it can imitate everything. And Jenny Kleeman says that there is a kind of customization which is also given to the customers, which means human life is always in search of perfection, as we all know. So here you can customize these sex robots. Like you can choose the color of the eye, you can choose the texture of the hair, you can choose the skin texture. Everything can be customized according to the whims and fancies of the customer. And Kleeman says within the next 5 years, this will be launched into the market. Now, initially, if this is going to be launched in the market, definitely it's going to be very expensive. So she says it might come around £6,000 in Britain and maybe around $8,000 in America. So that would approximately come to 6 to 7 lakhs in India. So it is not something which can be afforded by everyone. Now, Kleeman says that with this kind of a technological innovation, there is a very positive part which remains. She says that this will put an end to rape fantasies working in this world. Now, if this kind of an innovation can put an end to rape fantasies in the world, why not? That's a wonderful idea, right? So that is a positive part of it. Now, the negative part about this kind of an innovation is that if these kind of sex robots are coming into the market, definitely sex workers will lose their jobs. More than that, there are a number of countries which are completely based on sex tourism, and those countries will have to shut down their sex tourism if these kind of robots come into the market. So she says that these robots initially can be expensive, and she compares it with the kind of mobiles we had 20, 25 years back. When mobiles were initiated into this market, we know that they looked very expensive, but today at a very cheaper rate, you can get hold of a smartphone very easily. So she says that when these sex robots are initiated into the market, When there is a huge demand, automatically there will be a mass production. And when there's a mass production, the price will automatically reduce. So it comes in such a way that every person can buy a sex robot of their own. And she says, in a way, if this can curb rape fantasies happening all over the world, why not try this? Now, she has also conducted certain interviews. Now, this looks very amusing because she has conducted an interview with a man called Dave Cat from Detroit. Now, she says that this man has got a sex doll with him and he believes that he is married to the sex doll. Now, it looks really weird when we talk about this, but these are real time characters. Now, this man says that he prefers a sex robot because things that you cannot do to a human being can be done to a robot. Now, see, we know that there are so many people in our society with these kind of pervert minds, weird kind of mentalities. So if those people can be channelized through sex robots, definitely a number of people's life would be saved in the society. So Jenny Clement finds this as one positive part of it. Now, she interviews a lady who is in possession of a male sex robot. Now, this lady comes up with some very interesting remarks. During the discussion with Jenny Clement, she says that she prefers a sex robot because a sex robot as a husband will never lie to her. A sex robot as a husband will never drink, he will never smoke, he will never commit adultery, and he would never verbally abuse her. She says that sometimes with human relationships, certain things cannot be fixed, but with robots, it can be fixed. This is what she says. So, in a way, there are people who are preferring this kind of a companionship, just like the Greek mythological character Pygmalion and Galater. So you can see this kind of an illusion, which had been a part of mythology, is really becoming true, becoming a reality with these technological innovation. So ultimately, Jenny Clement says if rape fantasies can curb, definitely it's a very good idea. But at the same time, another important factor is that if people continue to live with these sex robots, ultimately, maybe after a number of years, they might start feeling a kind of emotional emptiness, which can really create a number of psychological impacts. So moving on to the next part, the second innovation that she talks about is vegan meat. Now, vegan meat, the title itself looks like a paradox or something like an oxymoron, where you can see there are two contradicting items which are coming together. So it is actually vegetarian meat. Now, this kind of a meat is actually being experimented in an organization called JUST, J-U-S-T. You can Google it out and get more details. So JUST is actually through their experiments in conducting a number of research processes by which they can synthesize and culture processed meat. Now, this is something which I have always thought about, because if you can eat meat without killing animals, that would be a wonderful idea. So this is exactly what is happening at one corner of the world. A number of people are working on these experiments. So they would be initially starting with small time things like nuggets, burgers, again, sausages, etc. So gradually they will move on to the other realm. So here again, you can see this looks like a very positive idea. That's what Clement says, because of two important reasons. Now, she says that the first part is that the environmental studies have claimed that if we go on killing animals like this, by the time we hit 2050, 2050, this will affect the normal food chain in the biological environment, which can create an impact on the climatic change of Earth. Now, this climatic change would even bring about a situation where human life can be completely impossible. So, considering the environmental factors, this would be a very good thought. And the second thing is that animals need not be killed. There is no bloodshed, there is no torture, there is no guilt remaining in the mind when you see a table decorated with meat. Another thing, vegetarians would definitely get a chance to eat meat because they can have it without having any guilt feeling of eating a meat, because this is completely processed and synthesized and cultured meat. So she says that they are on the verge of bringing it out to the world. So within the next 2-3 years, this is going to be marketed in all countries. Now, coming to the third innovation. Now, this is the innovation which I liked very much, because this looks very interesting from many perspectives. Now, Jenny Clemens says that this is one of the most challenging kind of innovations, and definitely it would take at least a decade to bring this into reality. Now, this is about birthing bags. Now, by birthing bags, in simple terms, you can understand it as artificial wombs, artificial uterus, which is created in the external environment. So in Norway, there is a Pacific Fertility Center, which is actually conducting a number of experiments based on this. It is right now going on with experiments. And there is a lady named Dr. Enna who has actually published a number of research papers based on this. Now, Jenny Clemens says that if this innovation is going to come into reality, this will redefine what is being talked about as feminine and masculine, because women will be completely away from the responsibilities of pregnancy and delivery. So in a way, she finds that this is the kind of innovation which might give a lot of freedom and independence for women, because a pregnancy and delivery would become just as simple as zipping up and zipping out a Ziploc bag. Now, they have named it as Eve, EVE. If you're interested, you can Google it out and get more details. EVE is actually named after the first woman on this earth. So EVE is actually ex vivo uterine environment, which is an artificial womb. Now, this is just one step ahead of surrogacy. Now, you might, at least some of you might be thinking this as a crazy kind of innovation or as a crazy kind of technological advancement. Now, maybe 200 years back, when scientists talked about surrogacy, people laughed at them because they never believed that this kind of a concept can emerge. Now, today we know surrogacy has become a very common part of our culture. So we have read in news that Shah Rukh Khan and Gauri Khan, they have gone for their third baby through surrogation. Amir Khan and Kiran Rao has gone for surrogation. Very recently, Sunny Leon has gone for surrogation with her twin baby. So there are different reasons why people prefer surrogacy. Now, for some women, that could be medical requirements. For some others, they don't want to disfigure their body through pregnancy and delivery. And for some others, they don't want to go through this process. Now, if this innovation is going to become a reality, a number of women will not lose their careers. A number of women will not have to discontinue their studies. So in a number of ways, it would be definitely redefining the concepts of human society. And here again, you can see another important part here is that the baby that is growing in this womb can be seen by the parents. So it's just like a mirror block where you can watch and see the growth of your baby. And as I mentioned before, this is one step ahead of surrogacy. Now, if you look back to surrogacy, surrogacy is not that easy because it is an agreement, a mutual agreement between two parties. And there is a lot of emotional involvement that is coming with surrogacy because there is a mother who has to carry the child in the womb. So there is some kind of an emotional attachment that could be possible. So maybe you might have heard about the very sensational case, Petaraman case of Thailand versus the Australian couples. Since we are not having much time, I'm not going into details. Definitely, if we have enough time during discussion, we'll come back to it because it's a very complicated case, a very sensational case. It came all through the news channels all over the world. Even BBC took it as a very sensational news. And finally, Thailand even had to produce a new legal law based on this, banning surrogacy, banning commercial surrogacy in Thailand. So surrogacy is not that easy because you have a woman attached to that, and that will definitely relate with a lot of emotional impact. But with these kind of birthing bags, that emotional impact is not there. You can either rent out a uterus or you can either buy a uterine environment. So it's up to you. And Clemens says that this will definitely change the face of women all over the world. She even quotes a dialogue from Shulamit Firestone, one of the great feminists during the waves of feminism. Shulamit Firestone, in her book, The Dialectic of Sex, says that pregnancy is barbaric. So at least for some of them who think or consider it to be barbaric, this would be a perfect solution. So ladies would be completely away from the responsibilities of pregnancy and delivery. Now, Clemens says this is really good, thinking about the independence that women would attain. But on the other hand, she says that all the glorification that we had been attaching to women as pregnancy, delivery, and motherhood, those glorifications would be completely taken off, because anybody can buy this and anybody can actually put a fetus inside. So the glory associated with reproduction and a woman would be completely moving out. And she also adds that once this birthing bags come, definitely reproduction will no more be connected with sex. So I felt this as a very interesting kind of innovation. So you will get more details if you check Google with this organization in Norway, that is EVE, which is ex vivo uterine environment. Okay, so coming to the last part, now this is about death. So as Clement says, this is the culmination of life. Now this is about death machines. It might look very crazy here, because death machines will give you an opportunity to choose your death at the time that is your requirement. Now, you might have heard about the term euthanasia. Now, euthanasia or mercy killing is actually freeing people who are bedridden totally, who are remaining as vegetables. So it would give an opportunity for those people to put an end to the sufferings that they are going through. There are so many people who are suffering from fatal diseases. Some others are suffering from Alzheimer's and even dementia. So it's very difficult for those people. Now, this piece of the book looks very informative too, because there were a lot of things which I have never known. So I felt it very informative, this part. Now, Clement says that the first death machine was invented by Keboko during the 18th century. Now, what Keboko did was he created a machine named as Thanatos. Now, Thanatos is actually the term, the Greek term Thanatos, which means death. Now, this is again a term which Freud has employed in psychoanalysis. So Thanatron actually helped people to die. So people would approach him, and there is a van which he has got. He would ask the people to occupy the last seat of the van, and he would be administering an injection to the people. Now, with the administration of this injection, the people would automatically pass into a coma. And once they are in coma, another injection would be administered, which will trigger a cardiac arrest. So it was a very kind of easy death, that they will not know pain because they're already in coma. Now, this machine, even though it worked, people never recognized it, and Kiboko was actually convicted. So he was convicted by stating that he helped people to commit suicide. So in a way, that is a secondary kind of murder. Now, it was during 1990 that Dr. Philip Niger comes with another equipment. Now, Philip Niger still is alive, and he is an Australian. Now, if you check in Google, Exit International, you will get more details on this, because Exit International is an organization that Dr. Philip Niger has initiated, and his main idea is to provide some support for people who wants to die. Now, he has created another equipment named as Deliverance. Now, this again is administering a kind of a drug through the vein. Now, Philip Niche said that it had certain difficulties because a drug named Nembutal was used for this. Now, the problem was that different people had different reactions based on the drug, because some people, they could die within 2 minutes, whereas for some others, it took around 2 hours to die. And moreover, they had to go through a lot of struggles. They sometimes had terrible pain. Some people, they vomited. Some people, they got asphyxiated. So it had a lot of problems with that. So it was not an easy death. Now, Philip Niche right now is working in Exit organization, a branch of the same Exit in Australia. He's right now working in Amsterdam, and he's conducting experiments like giving a suicidal kit online. So a suicidal kit online means you can order it online, and once it comes, you can assemble it. Now, this is like, it might have a polythene mask. It might have some tubes and pipes which you have to assemble. There will be a very small cylinder, and there will be a switch connected with the cylinder. Now, once you put the polythene mask over your face, if you press the button in the cylinder, this polythene bag will continuously be fumed with nitrogen gas. So the doctor, Philip, says that it will give you a very easy death without any pain. So he's actually working on this, and he says that this is going to be online as a package. Like if you're planning to die, there are arrangements which can be done by this online society, taking up your dead body, conducting funeral services, everything. So it more or less looks like a honeymoon package or a tour package, but this is the reality which is happening at Amsterdam. So you can get more connection with it if you check Google. So Philip Nietzsche is still working on that, because once this mission is boomed into the market, Clement says that there are both good things and bad things associated. Definitely, it would be something great for people who are really suffering. That's one positive part. But at the same time, for when you look at the negative sides, you can see that these kind of suicidal kits, which are easily available online, can be used by a number of people who are not actually in the requirement of death. Maybe depression is something, as you call, as a very shady kind of area. If you're depressed in one moment, the very next moment your depression can move off. So people who are depressed will get a chance to try it, which is creating a very negative impact. The second thing is that this can be used in order to kill somebody else, to conduct a murder, which is again very horrifying. So Clement says the one good part is that it will help bedridden people to move off silently, but it has definitely got some negative parts. So these are the 4 technological innovations that she talks about in this book. It's highly informative, very interesting, and very amusing to read. Now, she concludes the book by stating that all these technological innovations can never be considered as solutions, because they are just circumventions. And she also suggests that human life is always comprised of imperfections, sacrifices, and compromise. And she says, even when we have a lot of technological advancements, these kind of sacrifices or compromises or imperfections are never going to leave human society. So this is a book which really provides enough food for thought, because they make you think about the future. You can definitely, on one perspective, you can find it as the beautiful technological advancements. But on the other side, we have to think about the ethical consequences, the legal consequences, and a lot more about the emotional consequences that humanity will have to face. Now, Guardian has described this book in one single word, and that is an unputdownable book. And this is exactly true, because this is exactly what I felt when I went through this book. Now, this is available in Amazon. So it has got both the paper version as well as the Kindle version. So I would suggest you this would definitely be a very good addition to your library, because this talks about the future, including all the technological innovations. So that's all. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you, one and all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Krishna Sundar, for your elaborations on the book titled as Sex Robots and We Can Meet. And it is the forum is open, and I welcome all the participants to ask your questions, unmute your audio, or ask through the chat box. Welcome all.
Thank you, ma'am, for your excellent presentation. When I read Homo Deus, by Yuval Noah Harari in 2015, I thought everything is going to change in the next year. But 5 years passed, nothing has happened. Okay, so I think it is more fantasy than reality. So things are happening, and I think it's a lot of exaggeration also, I think. So I'm not worried that the life is going to be changed very soon. But anyway, technology is replacing biology and sociology and all very soon. Okay, excellent presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Krishna. This is Dr. Anita.
Okay, hello, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, it was a nice presentation, and I haven't read the book, but listening to your presentation, doesn't future look a little scary? What do you think?
Yes, exactly. That is what Clement is putting across, because with these technological innovations, there are a lot of consequences that we are going to face, definitely. Because a lot of things will be
talking about perfection in human world. That's not possible. We are born, and human beings tend to be imperfect. That is nature. And okay, anyway, the book sounds very interesting. Definitely will read it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Am I audible?
Yes, you.
This is Sahra.
Yes.
I have some kinds of technical obstacles in between. I couldn't go through all throughout the session. But I don't. So I don't know whether you have gone through that part of uh, that part means the emotional elements regarding the robots or the about the sex toys. Whether you have gone through that part of this.
Okay. Okay, so
Okay.
I guess you're talking about the kind of emotional consequences that
Emotional involvement. I will
Okay.
clear that because there's a movie. There's a Joaquin Phoenix movie named Her.
Yeah,
Maybe Krishna gone through. Yeah.
Yes,
In that movie, the
he falls in
man
love with
fell in
application.
with the OS with an artificial intelligence, right? Do you think in future, because especially even after even after the scientific explorations, this much scientific exploration, people are very much affected by the emotional sides of them, because depression is very much a usual thing these days. So, do you think these kinds of sexual toys or robots will have an addiction kind of an influence on the human being? What do you think about it?
Thank you, Zahira, for bringing it up. Definitely, what you said is exactly right, because after reading the book, even I have gone through the very same kind of questions in my mind. Now, I believe that human life is actually filled with a lot of dissatisfaction, right? People have different levels of dissatisfactions, and more the hopes, more the dissatisfaction. So, as Jenny Clement herself has stated, human life is a mixture of these kind of compromises and imperfections. So even when these kind of technological innovations can come, definitely it is not going to beat certain emotional aspects of humanity. And moreover, as most of you might know, there is a movie where Joaquin Phoenix has acted, the movie titled as Her, H-E-R. Now, in the movie, he falls in love with an application, an OS. And ultimately, that OS is suddenly taken off by the organization. So he goes completely empty psychologically. Now, even Clement talks about this emotional emptiness. And she says that sometimes, not sometimes, and most times, there are certain things which cannot be replaced. And she says that even if people are married to these six robots, definitely there would be a time when they would feel this kind of emotional emptiness. So that's what she says, because even with all these kind of technological innovations, it is not going to be a solution for humanity. It is only a circumvention just to divert you for the present moment, or maybe for a decade. After that, these emotional consequences will definitely be there. So thank you very much for your question.
So, ma'am, my name is Abdul Hamid. I will ask you one thing. See, emotion, according to, I think the modern, what happens, the emotion means it's a chemical, either addition or some imbalance like that. So, with some chemicals, we can induce the sexual pleasures or anything in a person. And we can induce any kind of emotion. So, I don't know whether these sex toys are necessary when we can just inject a chemical or an injection that makes you all the sexual pleasures. So it is not going to end like this, so it will be continuing. I am sure that it will continue. They may replace all these sex toys one day. So we will have some easy solutions for that, right?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your suggestion. Definitely that's a possibility, because things are changing every day, because things that you see in one decade becomes completely obsolete when we move on to the next decade. So definitely that is a possibility. I completely agree with you.
And one more thing is that there are a lot of research that is going to overcome death also, because now they have identified the genes that causes aging. Now they
Yes.
are conducting study on how we can manage it, or how we can control it. So even the death machine will be outdated in one.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely, because there are a lot of research experiments being conducted to preserve youth. So a lot of things are already in the market. In certain corners of America, there are a group of scientists who are working on to preserve youth. So if you can preserve youth, definitely death would be miles apart.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Krishna ma'am,
So
there is a
Krishna,
question in the chat box. Anupama Cam asked a question. It's there in the chat box. Krishna ma'am, can you see that?
Oh, yes, sure. So I'll just read out the question. Won't there be legal restrictions to introducing easy death technologies into the society? Now, see, this death technology is in one way connected with what we call as euthanasia or mercy killing. And definitely the problem is that some countries have legalized it. And in those countries, now, for example, I talked about Keboko. Now, this man was actually convicted initially, but later he was released because it was considered as a kind of a thing which was done for the sake of the society, because many people who were bedridden actually pleaded for death. So in that way, it was looked in a different perspective. So ultimately, these legal kind of restrictions definitely would depend upon the kind of sanction that the country or the nation goes with. Because there are many European countries where euthanasia is totally legalized, but in India, I think it is still not legalized. So that depends on the restrictions that the country might impose.
the forum is open. Any more questions, please, friends? Questions or suggestions or your evaluation, please.
Okay,
So,
so I
ma'am,
guess
we have
there's
one more question.
so that is from Jitin P. What would be the impact of it on social relations or among people? That's a very intelligent question, because that exactly is what the entire book is talking about. Because the kind of relationships that we maintain right now and the kind of relationships that we would be focusing later would be totally different. Because if human beings can be replaced by a set of robots, definitely things are going to change. And at least for some people who are completely weird or crazy, that kind of a robotic kind of life would appear more illusory than real-time people. Because if you move into the Western world, you can see this is not something new, because a lot of people are actually living their life with robots. So what we have seen in the movie Her is not something which is very far away from us, because this is a reality which is happening on many corners of the world. Maybe we haven't gone into that kind of an extent in India. So definitely it would be having a lot of impact within the relationship. Definitely human relationships cannot be replaced by anything else. That's what I believe in. So it would definitely create a lot of complications, and those complications will definitely reflect in the society too.
So thanks, Ms. Krishna Sundar. I have not a question, but some kind of my sharing with you. So when the books, overall talks about the four layers of birth, food, sex, and death. Of course, when Mr. Hamid talks about these imaginaries, maybe as a contingent part, maybe have a change. But my own my own apprehension on these things, when you talk about the sex part, I mean, when Cleman talks about the sex part, she says that there will be a kind of curtailment in the rape fantasies in the future. The rape fantasies actually that is an ethical part. That is an ethical part. But when you talk in another sense, the concepts like or the areas like illicit relations, incest, erotic fantasies. All these things exist in the human world, exist. But as a taboo, for example, incest taboo, erotic fantasies, rather than the rape fantasies, there are a lot of erotic sexual fantasies out there, even illicit relationships. Of course, all these things exist in a society where we or she talks only on rape fantasies in order to regulate the sexual energy. I think is it taken into another realm of postmodern instrumental reason at a standardized form of body? She takes sex as a standardized form of body, making into a future possibility of a future phobia on body. So just for your views.
Yeah, definitely that is a possibility, but Kleeman never touches upon the other kind of fantasies. She is focusing, maybe because she is a woman, maybe if the book had been written by a man, definitely he would have seen things from totally different perspective. But maybe because she is a woman, she is a journalist, maybe she has gone through a number of cases. Maybe when you look at the majority cases, definitely rape becomes as one of the most important things which needs to be discussed and which needs to be channelized. So considering in that aspect, she talks only about rape fantasies. And she also talks about incels. Now, incels are people, maybe the expansion is involuntarily capacity per people, because incels are actually people who actually want companionship. But the problem is that nobody would accept them as companions, because we have those kind of people in our society too, because nobody wants them. But they are actually interested in having a relationship, having a sexual relationship, but nobody wants them. Nobody wants to be with them. So she says that in a way that is another kind of a perverted kind of mind. So definitely she says those people would be benefited with this kind of Roberts. So maybe what you said is right. There are lots of other kinds of relationship. It's not just about rape, body as a victim in different ways. So definitely it can contribute to it.
Okay, thank you, Krishna ma'am. What I think, in another sense, when she talks about all these things about discussing in a level of sex, I mean bodily sex as a, because a rape, she maybe just reduced the rape fantasies and rape as a body, even from a perspective of a woman as such a victim. She made or reduces all these things to a sex into bodily impulses rather than a violent activities, atrocities, a kind of misogynism. So we know a kind of hatred. So, but when we talk on this level, rape fantasies or rape from a man to woman is culminating only through the aspects of body. So that means it is a kind of reductionism, taking the entire gamut of rape, history of rape and patriarchy into the body. This may be one of the suggestions. I got your idea. And another one from the sex toys and sex robots regarding. So is it a kind of making a machine industry? Likewise in the pornography, a kind of fucking machine industry. So from the masturbation, from the self pleasure making, self realities and emotional relief. So it is from the organic masturbation to a machine industry. Can she making a kind of another area of posthumanism, making a technological advancement, an industry?
Yeah, definitely. Because initially, when she begins the book, she says that all the people behind innovations are not just drawn by principles. Money is involved because a sex toy industry in foreign countries is actually a very huge industry, minting money. And they say that when a new sex toy is made, it actually sells like hotcakes. Now, I have recently read an article in Telegraph, and that looked very scary for me because it said that a couple of years back in London, in UK, small sex toys were introduced, like small boys and girls, not adults. Sex toys in the form of little girls and boys were introduced. And when this was introduced, you won't believe it, the organization said that it sold like hotcakes, more than the adult toys. So maybe that talks about how perverted our society is, how the fantasies have overgrown the normal kind of systematic divisions that we have got. So there was a huge controversy based on the release of these baby toys, baby dolls, because one group suggested that this has to be repelled because this is giving a very bad kind of intention, a very bad thought to the society. But another group argued that let us continue with the release of these toys, because if this is not released, real-time children will be utilized and traumatized. So rather than real-time children being utilized in a perverted sense, why not? Let us think about these kind of dolls. So there are two different perspectives which came, but finally the government was forced to repeal this kind of dolls. So I believe that for everything, it has got two different aspects, and it depends on the thought process of the individual who's actually getting into it. So thank you. That was a very good suggestion to think beyond the box.
Thank you, Ms. Krishna, ma'am. Okay, please, friends, if you have any more questions, please.
Yes, ma'am, Krishna, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm Jackson. I was so happy to listen to your presentation. It was excellent. Okay, so I suppose we have to read the book. But all of a sudden, I was just remembering in 1970, The Future Shock, Alvin Toffler's Future Shock has been released. Okay, we all got shocked. Okay, about the culture, about the future, what's going to happen. So that's one aspect, and we have already learned through, we have really gone through the criticisms that happen regarding Future Shock, especially the capitalist point of view and things like that. That's one area. The second area is about the binaries that you're talking about. Okay, the whole book you're talking about man, woman, right? Okay, naturally there are other genders too. So there are other things to be inculcated. These are the two perspectives which I want to talk to you. I mean, I just want to get a suggestion, regarding the first thing I just repeated regarding Alvin Toffler's Future Shock and the whole criticism which has happened after that, because considering it as only a capitalist thing. The second thing is just considering the whole humanity or whatever it is, just to get the binary separation, because it is more than that. Thank you, ma'am, please.
Yes, that's definitely a very interesting question and a very interesting suggestion too. Because even I thought about it right now. That's very true, because Kleeman talks only about the normal gender binaries that we know, man, woman. That is how she continues throughout her book. Definitely, she is not referring to transgenders. Definitely, she is not referring to homosexuals. She's not referring to lesbians. She has never gone into those areas, definitely. So they are still remaining as shady areas within the book. And we can see a lot of books have been released talking about these technological innovations. And as some of them suggested, we have been hearing about this for a long period. Nothing is actually coming out. That's also another part of it. So again, The Brave New World by Huxley, and again, Future Shock. So there are lots of books related with these kind of things, what future is going to envision. And definitely, I think in the present time, in the current times, these every category should have been added, because when we talk about all different kinds of systematic divisions here, we only talk about man and woman. So that was really even a new awakening for me, because definitely there are many areas that are being left out when we talk about this. So thank you for reminding that.
My question had one more point too, ma'am. It was regarding that Alvin Toffler's Future Shock. Because Future Shock, when it came in 1970s, it really made a big havoc. And people were very much, culture shock and this and that. But later, there were many criticisms which happened towards that, because human beings or whatever the beings that we call as human beings, we have been evolved. We are getting evolved in a different manner. Maybe what you have talked about the 4, 5, 6, 7 things that we have discussed in the book. It was a very interesting presentation. Again, I should say it was maybe the part of it. But the criticism which has been generated in Toffler's book is that it is a bit, they are only focusing only the capitalist part of the whole world. It has to do with the other sides of the world, because nowadays, when we are talking about nation, when we talk about human rights, when we talk about a lot of this, because we are talking about the rights, somewhere you're talking about the human rights. So today we know that one of the great educationists, he is being charged without any reason. Hani Babu, he has been under in the police custody and things like that. So how the state is organizing it, how the state is making it, getting into our own nerves. When you're talking about the legal point of view, when you're talking about the capitalist way, a lot of things have been involved in it. So that social point of view, that perspective, where when everyone is becoming refugees, and from that world, how do you see it? Is it only a future shock? That's my point.
Okay, so I think that is a question which involves a lot of things, from the borders of nation to refugees to social ethics, legal ethics, even a bit of politics, which is involved, I guess. So I'm not very much into all these fields to give you a correct kind of answer. but definitely we are on the verge of what you call as transhumanism. Definitely, we should agree that maybe we haven't crossed that border, but definitely there have been some indicative changes which has happened to humanity, the entire race for the past many decades or even centuries, as you call it. So in a way, it is not just about a personal perspective. As you suggested, there are a lot of things which are completely becoming the collective conscious of each of us. And definitely everything related with it, like society, the nation, politics involved, the legal systems, the ethical issues, everything is actually involved when your perception is actually formed. So I don't know whether I can give you a very correct, accurate kind of answer, because I believe it depends on individuals. It definitely relates with the collective conscious which has been established and worked up within their mind. So anyway, thank you, because these are really the new areas which I am seeing now, because these are the things which I never thought about when I read the book. So this was really, the discussion was really nice because it was mutually enriching. There were a lot of areas which was enlightened in me for these suggestions and the areas that all of you had discussed.
Okay, thank you.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or discussions, please? Okay, we are waiting for questions. Okay, I think almost all the questions are being asked. Anyhow, it was a wonderful sessions, and I invite, if we don't have any questions or discussions, it's actually a platform for discussions. So I invite Mr. Siddiq, your colleague, not a formal vote of thanks, but just say a few words about this presentation.
Hi, Krishna ma'am. It was really an informative presentation, and discussion was really good. I think it is important to know that of the innovation discussed here, no functional versions currently exist. So is claim and worrying us over nothing? Not entirely, since it seems likely they will go on the market one day. If there is no guarantee, they will be desirable, let alone affordable. And I think we are left dismayed, not so much by what lies ahead as by the current reality. The men with planet-sized egos weighing with one another to control birth, food, sex, and death. So it's a habit that's old as the hills. So thank you, Krishna ma'am, for a wonderful presentation here. On behalf of Unspace, I express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who logged in here. Thank you, Krishna ma'am.
Thank you
all.
very much. It was mutually enriching, in fact. So thank you very much for making me join this platform and giving me an opportunity to share the ideas. So thanks everyone for your patient listening, and the discussion was really fruitful. So thank you, one and all. Thank you.